political situation. And from everything from the way certain human beings treat the earth, to the way men treat women, to the way people who have less melanin treat people who have more melanin. And so for a long time, I did a series of works, which I call the Perpetrator series. And I defined perpetration as the act of violating a trust, betraying a trust. Anyone who betrays a trust is a perpetrator. And because, to me, trust is the foundation of being social beings, and we need to be social beings in the same way that we need oxygen and water. We can't exist without a social context, and the social context depends on trust. One of the things that I thought about when people were talking about, after 9/11, when everybody was all fritzed up about the ships coming into the harbor. I live in Oakland, so the port of Oakland is a big deal. And they were trying to figure out how they were going to x-ray these big old cargo vessels, thousands of them a day. And I thought, how did we do it before? Oh, we kind of trusted that nobody was going to bomb us, you know? So many of these pieces, I think all of the pieces that are in this show right now are of the black and the white clay. And then what happened to me was that I would be going into the clay store to buy my clay, and I would be getting, this black clay called Cassius basaltic, and then some kind of porcelain would be the white clay. These are all just the straight clay colors. And then I would sort of see out of the corner of my eye, I would see the wall with all the different other clays, and the clays were like brown. That's one of my pieces there. That's called Privilege. It's an image of someone who isn't looking and isn't listening, but is spewing out of their mouth this barbed wire language. And that's kind of the idea of, and this is a piece here called Son of Perpetration. He's looking in a mirror. He's got a gun in his mouth. He's shooting the person he sees in the mirror. And on his head, he has a little do-rag that's filled with pictures of my little son when he was in elementary school. And the people bring the pony to school, and they put the little kid on the pony with the little cowboy hat, and they take the pony picture, a little 5-year-old. That's what Son of Perpetration is wearing on his head. So I saw these other clays that had all these different colors, and they looked like human being colors, browns and reds and light and dark. And I started thinking about what a denial it is for any of us to say, oh, I am black or I am white. I mean, this tablecloth is black. Nobody's that color, It's like denying. It's like the first step of perpetration is to get you to deny the evidence of your senses. Everybody has a color. It may be pinkish, it may be beige, it may be tan, it may be umber. And then I started thinking, well, if black and white is not really about people, what is it about? And then this is where I came to looking at black and white more in terms of archetypes and the like the yin-yang symbol. And then thinking about all of the kinds of things that are presented to us as dualities that really aren't, or that are dualities that are, they're dualities, but one is always favored over the other. Like we've got, the gender continuum, but, it's really tilted towards one gender being on top. Even top and bottom is a continuum. Being alive and up on the planet is valued over being under the ground and contributing to the life of the plants. White, obviously, over black. And so what my work now is about recognizing and celebrating the various human colors in the clay, and at the same time lifting up the dark, the black, the night, the earth, and the other parts of the yin, the black part of that yin-yang thing. So that's where I'm at with black.
Thank you. We had another artist come through. Thank you so much, Bush Mama. If many of you got an opportunity to see the flyer, Bush Mama is the artist who created that beautiful piece. We should definitely give Bush a round of applause.
Amazing.
It was just beautiful, and we would love to hear your feedback. The two things that we mentioned was when you first heard Black Matters, what came up for you? And then the other one is just selecting one of your pieces and kind of speaking to how it resonates to the Black Matters conversation.
For me, Black Matters, there's so many, but I think the most pressing, oh, can you hear me? The most pressing thing is our lives, the ability to keep our lives, and the fact that we are losing our lives. And what does that mean when our lives are lost, especially to systemic racism and violence? So that's a big one for me, and it is on the top of my list when I'm working creatively. How can I take the sadness and the pain of the loss and transform that into something beautiful? Make it to where it's something that inspires us and makes us feel great instead of sick and sad. And so my piece, the title piece, or I don't even want to call it the title piece, but the piece that was used for the flyer is called Elevating Egun, because I need, as a spiritualist, as a person who has a spiritual practice, one of the things we do is we constantly elevate the spirits of the dead, especially those who were taken away violently. Those bodies are now in purgatory, or they haven't been crossed over properly because they didn't necessarily fulfill their destiny here on earth. They were snatched before their time. There's rites for that. There's a way to process that death so that it crosses over into the ancestor realm in a good and clean and beautiful way. And when that doesn't happen, the spirits don't get to be an access to us in the way that we can call on them and access their power and their energy, and to call on them for guidance. So we have to do some work in order for that to happen, and that we elevate their spirit. We actually do a ritual called a 9-day elevation. We spend 9 days elevating that spirit from the realm that it's in to the realm of the ancestors, so that we can now call them in, call that energy in, call that power in, access their energy. And so with this piece, Elevating Egun, I took an image of a woman with a crown of corn, an African woman. And the corn, for me, instantly reminded me of slave ships. And each kernel of the corn was a body, was cargo, precious cargo that we've lost coming across diaspora. And even those that made it here, that we lost due to their spirits being broken by the colonizer. And then what happens with those spirits? They need to be elevated. And so this piece that I created, I called in each and every one of those bodies, each and every one of those bodies that were in the water, each one of those bodies that made it here on earth. I called them in for each kernel of the corn in her hair. And then I took it a step further and actually implanted slave ships on certain pieces of the corn. And if you see the image, you'll be able to look and see the 3 slave ships that I put there. So to really just drive home the idea that I wanted those spirits to be lifted, and I wanted them to be properly buried with all their rights so that we can access their energy and power.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to go back to some of the things or some of the points that I thought would really open up a bigger dialogue for us in the conversation. Arrington, you said, "We decide." And I thought that was really powerful. And I'm not surprised that it comes from an artist who has a love and appreciation for graffiti, because it is always like either you're doing it or you're not. And so what can you offer the space when you say we decide, and thinking about that power, even knowing what the world says about you? And let's just really take the time to learn from who you are in this space. You're the only male on the stage. And so I would love to highlight that and take some of your wisdom, because while we talk about the lives that are lost, I think that there is a representation there for who you are right now. And to say we decide in the midst of everything that's going on, it says you don't get to decide nothing. You, as a matter of fact, you ain't poop. So how do you keep that for yourself and continue to create boldly, and to take it a step further and have a group called Black Male Collective filled with brothers doing amazing art? How do y'all do that?
For me, and most of the guys in the collective would kind of agree with me. It's trust and collaboration. So what she said, perpetrator, they denied trust. I wrote that down. I was like, yeah, like that's a great word to just hone in and to drive home, because I think the biggest part of my artistry personally is the art of collaboration, knowing that I might have the strength to believe that I have the power to design my own art, to take control of like how it looks, and to be, it's my, I put the purpose in it. I do it because I have something I want to say. But not every artist person feels that way. And if artist is a reflection of life, there's a lot of people in life that also feel like I have to do a certain thing because that's how I survive, or that's how I get by, or, And so for the art, it's kind of like in this world where, we're not supposed to only be artists. We have to have a job or two or three or four or five and do our art. Right. It's like you get pressured to not want to be yourself. And so it's the trust and collaboration and the community of your peers that are artists, but also just people that support you. That's where it comes from. Just actually, like, this world is harsh. People are mean. People are stupid. But, like, people are good. Like, not everybody's going to do you right. But, like, I mean, everybody has a different background. So it's like to overcome the perpetrator, to overcome the feeling of not being able to trust does take time, and different time for each person. But it's just like, it is that, like, once someone gets to a personal level where it's like they're able to trust again, or to believe in their fellow human being, like, that's the answer. Like, it's love. And it's coming through trust and collaborating with other people, because, yeah, like you said before, like, we're all in this, like, we're all in this world together, So it's like, yeah, there's people that are, took, that have made it so where it's like they feel like they're more important. Everybody knows, like, we're all just as important, And if we don't know, it's a reminder. And that's why it's like, you decide your artistry. And you also choose how to define it, because you might define it once when you're young. You might think you're this, but then when you get older, you realize, like, I am that, but I've grown and now I'm this. I have little parts of that in my past, but I've grown. And then I was like, so you literally do decide. So, yeah, so it's like,